folks, welcome into Week 4 postgame. I'm Jason Blakeney, and with me Brady Amon. And Brady, you saw a thriller tonight. Tell me about that game out there at Pine Forest.
Well, Pace and Pine Forest, one of those, I guess, a typical Pace Pine Forest game, so to speak. Pace stops them on a 2-point conversion with a minute left in the fourth quarter to take a 13-12 win over Pine Forest and opens up District 1-6A, which is going to be a very competitive District 1-6A with a big win on the road, 13-12. A huge victory for the Pace Patriots tonight.
Yeah, it was one of those games, though, kind of went down to the wire, but it was 6-6 for most of the game, and then you get, as many points in the last minute and a half as you got, before that.
Yeah, it was just a game where it was kind of a stalemate for a long time, but, with about 2 minutes left, well, actually about 4 minutes left in the game, Pace goes to their go-to guy, Patrick Maddox, on a 40-yard pass down the middle of the field. It gets them into Pine Forest territory, and then from there, J.C. Curry takes it in from 10 yards out for the touchdown. Ryan Santoso, who had made 2 field goals earlier in the game, hits the extra point to make it 13-6. And then, Pine Forest gets the ball right back, drive right back down the field. Rashad Lee hooks up with Terrence Sims on a 48-yard pass, very similar to Patrick Maddox one, where it's right down the middle of the field. It gets them into Pace territory, and then in addition, Rashad Lee was hit in the backfield, so a penalty was called, 15-yard penalty. So it puts them at the 18-yard line. Lee decides he'll take it himself. He goes in from 18 yards out, and we have a 1-point ball game. Pine Forest lines up at the swinging gate, their traditional swinging gate. Lee is, basically the holder. He's standing there at the ball. And they kind of look at the sideline a couple times, and then they snap it to Lee. He kind of runs a little option there to the right, and Pace just steps up and stuffs him at the goal line, and then set off a huge celebration for the Pace Patriots as they hold on for the 13-12 win right at the end.
Well, maybe, that game isn't as close as it was, if not for 2 touchdowns called back there in the third quarter.
Yeah, Pine Forest got, hit with 2 penalties that were very, very critical, especially when you look at how the game ended. Trabian Suggs returns a second-half kickoff, 90 yards for a touchdown. They get called for a holding back at about the 23-yard line, so about 60, 70 yards away from where the play ended up. And then later in the game, in the third quarter, Rashad Lee breaks free on a 55-yard run, a great run where he kind of makes a couple defenders miss, and then he gets back out into the middle of the field. And it's a foot race, and it's over. And that one gets called back for a holding penalty at the line of scrimmage. So you're right. You take those 2 penalties, just one of them, one of those plays, and instead of it being, down to the wire game, you got Pine Forest that's kind of milking a lead there in the third quarter.
Yeah, and they go to 1-0 in District 1-6A. 2 other District 1-6A games tonight. I was at one of them. PHS and Milton basically playing in a mud bowl. The field is just tearing apart throughout the game. PHS gets enough, changed into longer spikes in the second half. Jalen Spencer with a big touchdown makes it 10-0. They tack on another touchdown after that. Milton playing great defense this year. Just doesn't have the offense, only averaging 8 points a game. And, Schaefer Marsh said it after the game, we have got to start playing better offense because our defense is playing their tails off.
Yeah, you kind of feel sorry for that defense. What is that? 60, 50 points they've given up this year
50,
through 4 games. And only 17 against a very good PHS team, but that offense just struggling right now. A team that's starting to kind of get it together now is Escambia. That's 2 in a row for them. They had a little scare there. Tate could have jumped out to a little lead there. Escambia jumps out to early lead. Tate rallies, gets the lead back. Escambia, though, pulls it out at the end, 24-22. So they're 1-0. That's a game that we kind of said in the preview. Both of those teams kind of needed to win that one because with the schedule coming down the road with PHS, Pine Forest, Pace, all those teams still on their schedule, they had to get that win. So it's a big win for Escambia.
Right. I mean, Escambia is showing a knack there for winning the game late. They got their first win last week. An overtime win. They get another one this week coming back in the fourth quarter. So, they're showing something that Scott Anderson likes to see out of his team, and that's a will to win. I mean, you're down late. It's not over until that clock hits 0, and boy, those guys showed that tonight. And we're going to move on to District 2-6A now. And, I checked my phone during halftime, and I could not believe the score. It was I want to say it was 42-27.
Yeah.
Navarre leading Niceville at halftime with Dwayne Carter having over 200 yards of rushing, 5 touchdowns on 15 carries in the first half.
Yeah.
Finishes with 307 for the game. Amazing win for those guys.
No, it's a big win. Navarre wins that one 56-33. And like you said, Dwayne Carter, who's really been struggling this year, I think he had, 90 yards total rushing going into this game. He triples that, 300 yards rushing. Big win for Navarre. It's not a district championship. Coach Lashley will tell you this is not the district championship, but it's a huge step in that direction. Niceville is one of those teams that you got to feel like with them in the rearview mirror, Navarre has a really good chance to win this district now.
Absolutely. And one of their district opponents, Crestview, they take it to the wire with Catholic tonight. They actually score a touchdown after Catholic scores a field goal in overtime, get a 40-37 win. So that's a big win for Crestview. But another lesson learned for Catholic, they can still play with the big boys.
They can, and I mean, this is just one of those games where, right now they're scheduled, they're looking at, 1-3, but they can't get frustrated because they played PHS, they've played Crestview, they played Choctaw. Those are all schools much bigger than them, and they're hanging with them. They've lost 2 very close games, and then they hung with PHS there for a while. They actually they played well in that game, even though it ended up being a 20-point loss.
Yeah, a big night tonight in Panama City for Pensacola, area football teams. District 1-5A gets underway tonight, and 2 teams that were considered laughingstocks last year go over to Panama City and just punch you in the mouth, blowout wins. Gulf Breeze tops Arnold 38-8, the first win in school history against Arnold. And Kirsten said he wasn't even sure if they had ever gone to Panama City and beaten anybody.
Any Panama City team. Well, I'll tell you what, I've learned my lesson. That's twice I picked Gulf Breeze to lose over there. So Sunday I will perform some kind of community service there in Gulf Breeze just to make it up for those community. I may go and pick some seashells for them on the beach or something just to kind of pay them back because. Maybe I'll just keep picking against them. Maybe that might be the key for them.
I was going to say, maybe they don't want you coming over there.
Maybe that's possible.
I'll tell you a team that does want you on their side, though, because you picked them every week and you've been right every week. That's West Florida. They also go over to Panama City and get a win, 49-22 over Bay. That was Bay's homecoming, and the Tornadoes came out quick. I believe jumped out to a 22-7 lead in the first quarter. They were up 14-6, and West Florida had only run 1 play.
Yeah.
They run a big kickoff back and then a pick 6, and they're trailing 14-6. And it's just amazing, just that the team has this winning attitude now. Last year, if you're down 22-7, that game's over. Yeah,
it ends up being probably a 52-14 game or something. Right. But yeah, I mean, West Florida definitely is believing right now. They're 4-0, and like you said, who would have thunk it? As they say, West Florida, Gulf Breeze, both of them 1-0. You don't really want to look ahead to that matchup that they have in a couple of weeks, but that could be for the district championship, especially the way that they went to Panama City and win both of those games. Huge wins for both of those teams. Start off on a great note in 1-5A.
Yeah, Gulf Breeze can't look ahead.
No,
but I'll look ahead for them.
Yeah,
I will look ahead for them because that is going to be a huge game. But they have another huge game next week, and it may be a bigger game for Northview than it is for Gulf Breeze. Northview goes over to South Walton, gets a big 47-8 win, more than 600 yards of total offense tonight, more than 500 of those on the ground. Brandon Sheets has a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. Several other guys toss in a touchdown of their own. But let's talk about that Northview Gulf Breeze game for a second. It'll be interesting to see how Northview stacks up to a good 5A team.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, you would have said how they stack up to an average 5A team, but now they're going and they're going to play a good 5A team.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and this is going to be, whether they win or lose, this is going to be a great barometer for them because just like the Chipley game was, because, I mean, they don't get anything out of beating South Walton other than a victory. But if they can beat Gulf Breeze or they can play well with Gulf Breeze, that gives them an idea of where they are in that rural league, and they get a big win tonight, bounce back from that Chipley game. So they got a chance to kind of get a little bit of a win streak going with that game at Gulf Breeze, and is their first home game of the year.
Yeah.
They haven't been at home yet. I mean, we're talking about we're going into week 5, and they have yet to play a home game.
Right. Yeah,
so
and
it's amazing.
They're only home 3 times all year.
Yeah.
So a big opportunity for them not only to play a Pensacola area team, but to get them at home and their first home game of the year. So that'll be a great game to watch. I believe probably me or you will end up running up there and checking out that game. That'll be a pretty good one. The only other game tonight, Jay goes to Flomaton, Alabama. We knew that was going to be a tough game for the Royals, and they end up on the short end. Flomaton gets that win 47-14.
Yeah, Flomaton just too many big plays. Jay had I think 7 players out tonight, including Connor Weeks with a shoulder injury. So it's just a tough battle for Jay to begin with, and then they had the guys missing, starters missing. So it just kind of one of those perfect storms for them.
Yeah, bright spot for them though. Ricky Cofield goes for almost 200 yards. I mean that kid has been very impressive this year. He's one of those players that we're going to have to watch down the road. I believe he's only a sophomore.
Only a sophomore, yeah.
So, yeah, he'll be interesting to watch over the next few years. That wraps us up tonight. Make sure you join us next week. We'll do our picks, which, by the way, I'm in the lead now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Breezers. Don't forget, it's B-A-M-O-N, B-A-Y-M-O-N-D at PNJ.com. We'll flash that up on the screen for you real quick.
Appreciate that.
Give him a email. I'll drop his phone number on you if you send me an email. And B-A-M-O-N at PNJ.com, picking against you this week. I'm Jason Blaney. This is Brady Amon, B-A-M-O-N at PNJ.com. And we will see you next week.
Email me, please.